that there was a run on CL Financial. The PNM loaded the gun and later pulled the trigger on CL Financial. One major company belonging to the state at that time withdrew close to 200 million US dollars, right, from the Clico Investment Bank. And that caused a tremendous run on that bank, because subsequent to them withdrawing that money, the news spread like wildfire. And that is what triggered the run on CL Financial. So the PNM loaded the gun and then pulled the trigger, forcing Lawrence Dupree to go to the central bank and to the Minister of Finance to get liquidity to support the CL Financial organization. That is where Jawala drew up a resolution plan, because they loaned through liquidity close to $30 billion to the CL Financial Group and to Clico, which at that time and still is a subsidiary of that particular CL Financial.
Right.
So with that arrangement in place, the company had, or the conglomerate had to repay the monies loaned by taxpayers to it over a period of time. So this is a company that had assets close to $100 billion. And of course, their assets were used in exchange to repay the state. One of those assets that was put on the chopping blocks was the MHIL, which is the Methanol Holdings International Limited, which is really an investment holding company with its real operations in a country called Oman. And the name of the company in Oman is the Oman Methanol Company. So the holding company, the investment holding company known as MHIL, was one of those companies that was placed on the chopping block in order to repay the state and to repay the taxpayers. Now, Clico, which was put under the supervision of the central bank under section 44D, had paid out of the $18 billion that was owed by Clico to the government and the taxpayers. They paid out close to $17 billion as at the end of 2022. And they were only owing $1.1 billion. Now, was it necessary, therefore, Mikey, for the government to dispose of the shares of Clico, which amounted to 56.53%?
No, and that's the question too. Where was the justification for that?
Well, here what I'm positing. What the government could have got through a bond that Clico could have floated, and the government could have gotten their $1.1 billion. Clico also had cash, maybe not $1 billion, but they had cash, maybe 500 million, right? 500,000, right? In cash they had available. But you know what? No. Remember, the balance was 1.1 billion.
Right.
So let's say they had cash amounting to 500 million. They could have, the government, which owns 49% of Clico and 14% in CL Financial, could have instructed Clico to float a bond for the remaining 600 million plus the 500 million in cash. and they would have got near 1.1. You know what that would have done, Mikey K? We would have been the recipient. Trinidad and Tobago, the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago would have been the recipient of what? A lot of foreign exchange.
Right.
Let me tell you, if you are not aware, based on the research I conducted, the plant that was in Oman, still in Oman, was jointly owned by CLICO and a company called Consolidated Energy Limited and the government of Oman. We had through CLICO 40% of that Oman plant. That company called CEL had about 25%, and the rest was owned by the government of Oman. Could you imagine a company had a take or pay arrangement for every ton of methanol that the Oman plant produced? There was a German company that took up every ton of methanol. There was no problem of marketing the methanol. In addition, they had a 25-year natural gas sales contract with the government of Oman. It meant that that plant had gas for 25 years without interruption. Why would a government owning 40% of a plant that is generating US dollars, Euro dollars, give up that, sell out that 40%, which when you translate it to the holdings company, it was 56.53% to foreigners. Now the foreigner was the co-owner of that plant called MHIL. But there was no need to hustle to sell that plant, because under the Insurance Act 2018 that was passed in the Parliament, they gave CLICO the right to only own 20% in any company outside of the financial sector, including insurance and banking. So they had 56.53% shares. So they had to bring it down to 20%. They had therefore to dispose of 36.53%. So the partner was CEL, which is Consolidated Energy Limited, a subsidiary of the Proman Group of company that has a lot of methanol, urea, and fertilizer plants, ammonia plants down at Point Lisas.
Right.
Now, you allow this company called CEL not only to take the 36% that the law said that CLICO had to give up, but they gave these people the 20% that CLICO was holding under the law. And there was no need for Dr. Rowley and his kleptocratic gang to sell the 20%. But like Espine, when they destroyed Petrotrin, and they asked Espine, how many workers going? He said, listen, don't come and ask me about how many workers going. All going. That was Espine's response to the media. It's the same conduct that Rowley and his gang conducted on CL Finan, on CLICO, which was owned by the people of Trinidad and Tobago, 49%.
And that's the point, Senator. All of this being done, of course, unknowing to us, the main shareholders of these assets.
But listen, Mikey K, it's like a story called Alice in Wonderland. It becomes curiouser and curiouser. In in January of 2023, the junior minister called Brian Manning, based on a matter on motion for the adjournment raised by me, he came and confessed to Trinidad and Tobago, it is on the Hansard record, that they offered the shares not once, not twice, but 3 times to CEL, Consolidated Energy Limited, and they refused on 3 occasions. You know why, Mikey K? They said the price too high. They can't pay. You know what the government did? You know what CLICO did? Through under a woman called Claire Gomez Miller? She sold the 36.53% to the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. 19% went to Corporation Soul, and the other 17% went to NIF, the National Investment Fund. We were told by Brian Manning the sales and purchase agreement was signed, the valuation agreement was signed, the valuation report was submitted. Everything was done in exchange for that $1.1 billion owed by CLICO to the taxpayers. And we thought the only thing, Mikey, he said, had to be done, they had to update the shareholders register so that title could be moved from CLICO to the Corporation Soul and to NIF. Listen, Mikey, we thought everything went honky-dory. We thought the people of Trinidad and Tobago was owning directly into this company that is a glutton for foreign exchange, right? Next thing we learned on Christmas Day, Dr. Rowley, the PNM and CLICO sold out our 56.53% to a company called Consolidated Energy Limited, a subsidiary of the Proman Group. That is why I said, Mikey K, the Prime Minister and his lackey have questions to answer. We have evidence where the CEO and the president of the Proman Group, a fellow called David Cassidy, visited the diplomatic center
here in Trinidad
in April of 2022. And the Prime Minister has told the country nothing about the nature of that meeting. There was no public officer. It's just him, Stuart Young, and David Cassidy and somebody else. But no evidence of what transpired. And the next thing we learned, in the month of September of that said year, the Energy Minister and the Prime Minister were invited to a place called Zurich, in a place called Switzerland, and they went to the headquarters of the Proman Group. Now, we don't know what they discussed. They had no public officers. They had no public servants. There were no notes. So we don't know what they discussed. What we do know is that on Christmas Day, the entire 56.53% ownership of the shares of CLICO in methanol owned by the people of Trinidad and Tobago was sold lock, stock and barrel, hook, line and sinker to the Proman Group for $337 million US, which is equivalent to 2.25 billion TT dollars. You know what the auditors said at CLICO KPMG? They said that the value of that company at 2.25 when the carrying value was 2.61, or you could say 2.58, which you can round off to 2.6, was sold below the value, amounting to $323 million. That is what the auditors said.
But Senator, let me ask you this. I mean, because all of these figures, and I know the listening public and, the man on the ground is dumbfounded by all of this. It really is mind-boggling that all of this is going on while we, the citizens, certainly are not living better. Nothing has been done to elevate our lives. And I need to ask you this. In all your years, I mean, and you have been in politics for quite some time, the average man on the ground would think that, okay, some wrongdoing is going to take place. Somebody is going to dip their hand in the cookie jar. Some deal. Something is going to be conducted under the table in some back room. But have you ever, and I want you to tell me, please, have you ever seen anything, the likes of what you're witnessing now, and do you believe that this is well orchestrated?
Well, what I can tell you, when I call and describe this government as a kleptocratic government, Mikey, kleptocracy simply means a government run by thieves. We have a gang of thieves running the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And these fellas, they came in poor, but all of them are living rich. Who are not multi-millionaires have become multi-billionaires. You have a situation where the auditor is saying that $3.6 billion cannot be accounted for. The Minister of Finance cannot account for $3.6 billion. Where that money gone? Who took that money? Who steal that money? We have to investigate this. Then you have a situation where the honorable leader just a couple of hours ago exposed the Tobago A&R Robinson terminal and expansion of the airport, where the cost overrun is close to $500 million. A project that was supposed to be $1.2 billion is now over 1.7, going into 1.8. A project that started in 2020, that was supposed to be delivered in 24 months, that was supposed to be open in June of 2022. We are now in December of 2024. And the airport is still not open. It is 2 years over. We are hearing about the airport, the government trying to open the airport sometime in the first quarter of 2025. But there are risks associated with it, because there are training to be taking place, proper tracking and testing supposed to be taking place. We understand they want to bypass tracking, they want to bypass testing, they want to bypass training, just to fool the people of Tobago after they cannot account for $500 million. And that is how this country, under this criminal, kleptocratic gang, have been robbing this country over the last few years. Don't ever forget that Imber, the Minister of Finance, brought a finance bill in 2016 to allow people like himself and others who build condominium and what they call multi-family units.
Yes.
They bought, Lucky Bill 120 apartments on Picton Street. A fella called Warner built 46 apartments in Inez Gate, and the Prime Minister has land in a place called Landate, now known as Forest Hills. He built 5 palatial apartments. You know what is the catch in this thing? They can sell, they can lease, they can rent. And whether they sell like Import sold, I understand one apartment, let him deny it. We understand one apartment in that place called Alora Heights, or whatever they call it.
On Picton
was
Street.
sold for $3.2 million.
That's right.
20 apartments, multiply 3 by 20, 60 million. You know what, Mikey K? The man brought a piece of legislation to exempt him from paying any taxes.
And I'm glad
the man is smiling all the way to the bank.
you know, I'm glad you raised. I'm glad you raised that issue because
taxes, but they want us to pay property tax.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that issue because that is the one thing that stood out for me this morning on radio. We were talking about what was the breaking point, you know, based on all that has transpired in almost the 10 years. And I said there were 2 points for me. When the finance minister said they haven't rioted yet and he made a joke about it. And secondly, going and, of course, putting that piece of legislation together only for his personal interest. It had nothing to do, not even with people in his constituency, nothing to do with the man on the ground, people trying to make ends meet. And I said that's when I knew that they were going to do whatever it is that it takes to break whatever rules, and they simply did not care. Where was your breaking point in all of this that you had witnessed? Because we're talking...
You know, Mikey, just after what you have said, and that breaking point, something that you have not paid attention to, but I ask you to do. So, the Prime Minister, I want you always remember Act number 16 of 2019. It is called the miscellaneous provision, where he amended something called the Retirement Allowances Legislative Service Act, the Prime Minister's Pension Act, and judges and the Judges Pensions and Salaries Act. You know the Prime Minister did, and last week, Thursday, at the Diplomatic Center, the Prime Minister blatantly lied to the country, openly and nakedly told an untruth when he said that the Prime Minister's Pension Act was first introduced, which is right, 69. But what was not true, he said that it was only amended once in 1976. So what is the leader of the opposition, Kamla Prasad Bisasa, talking about? I think the Prime Minister is suffering from amnesia, or he is suffering from early stages of dementia, because he forgot in 2019 his government amended the Pension Act. So there was an amendment in 2019, and you know what they did in 2019, Mikey K? They amended the definition of salary.
Right.
Salary meant what you would gain under the SRC on a monthly basis. If that was 60,000, that was your salary. And when you're talking about pension, it is 1/3 or 2/3 of your final salary that will go towards pension, exclusive of allowances. You know what them fellas did? Them fellas amended the definition of salary in 2019 to include what is called personal allowances.
Right.
It included housing allowances, Mikey K. You know what the Prime Minister has done effectively? The Prime Minister, whenever another Prime Minister gets into office, and let's say they are doing some repairs to the Diplomatic Center, and he has to go somewhere else to live, and he has to get housing allowance during the period that he's living outside of the official residence, that will now be imputed into the Prime Minister's salary, and his pension would now be his salary plus the housing allowance. That is what the Prime Minister has done. And in addition to that, every 5 years the Prime Minister has indexed his pension. That indexation means that whatever an existing Prime Minister is receiving, if it's $100,000, If it's $125,000 a month, $150,000 a month, the Prime Minister who was there in the person of Rowley will be entitled to $150,000 to calculate his pension. That is what indexation is. That is what he did in 2019.
Well, Senator,
So
let me ask you this, Senator.
That is the most grievous cut on the population of this country.
But let me ask you this, Senator, because the talk on the ground is that it's expected that this is something like a golden parachute, that on the way out I'm going to have something to cushion my economic fall. Is that what we're seeing?
No, listen. The Prime Minister does not care. He does not care whether this is his last year or whether, for instance, this is not his last year. Whether he is going to try to come back through the back door, we don't know. What I am saying to you, what is most important to the people of Trinidad and Tobago is the obscene greed of the Prime Minister, the obscenity of the Prime Minister to create these inequities between those holders of public office and the masses of people, particularly those who are working on what I call 2014 salaries and getting a 1% and a 2%. And that is having no impact on their pension. And they don't have the right and they don't have the entitlement as the Prime Minister and judges and other ministers of government every 5 years, whatever a current minister is experiencing in Trinidad and Tobago, even though you gone 5 years ago, you're gone 10 years ago, you will be getting that same amount of money. That is a crime. That is an economic crime against the people. And I think just on that basis alone, not to mention the 5,000 people who have been murdered, not to mention the 4,000 people who die from COVID, not to mention their self-indulgence in that bill that they brought to give themselves tax-free exemption for any monies they gain from selling their condominiums or their their apartments or housing units, whatever you call it. I am saying there is enough evidence in the court of public opinion to find this criminal kleptocratic gang guilty and send them to the guillotine whenever they call the next general elections. And we must undertake and give the people the undertaking that we will investigate all their criminal activities that they engage in and that rob this country of billions and billions and billions of dollars. We will ensure that there is justice. Mikey K, the poor people will take revenge whenever they call the next general election against this criminal gang of kleptocrats.
Thank you so much, Senator. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Any closing comments?
My closing comments is simple. We have a date with destiny. I call on the people of Trinidad and Tobago to do what they have to do to save our country from infamy and from tyranny. There is only going to be more hardship under this criminal kleptocratic gang. We have to get rid of this gang and we have to put in office the United National Congress headed by Kamala Persad-Bissessar so we can bring back opportunity, we can bring back freedom, we can bring back prosperity, we can bring back equality for all of the people of T&T.
Thank you so much, Senator. It's been a pleasure, as always. Thank you.
As always, thank you.
Well, you just heard UNC Senator Wade Mark. Again, I mean, if it's not NICON, it's the sale of Clico's methanol shares. And of course, last night, as he mentioned, at the United National Congress cottage meeting in Las Lomas at the government primary school, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the opposition leader and political leader of the UNC, said that the Tobago's airport terminal was originally estimated to cost TT 1.287 billion. But there has been cost overruns to the tune of 431.16 million. And she added this brings the total cost of the airport terminal project to 1.718 billion, an overrun of nearly 34% of the original budget. I repeat that, an overrun of nearly 34% of the original budget. Now, when you hear these numbers and millions and billions, I mean, I'm certain you think about the fact that, okay, what could that have done? And recreation grounds, education, better healthcare, all of these things, and all of these meetings that were conducted unknowing to us, the shareholders. We don't know what was sold, we don't know what was bought, we don't know who received it, we don't know who benefited the most. We simply do not know. So then on what grounds does the incumbent, which of course is this PNM government, going to campaign on? Are they going to tell us that they did this good and this better and they did this great and the outcome was when in fact that you yourself are not living that reality on a daily basis? All of these deals, and you heard Senator Mark, and it goes on, and things that we can't even, we can only imagine, because we say to ourselves, had it not been this Auditor General, were these things being passed by someone else who simply turned a blind eye or never asked a question and said, okay, it's all good and well, I am part of the team, I am part of the good old boys, I am part of the Costa Nostra, as the case may be, I have a secret to keep, they have a secret on me, so I have nothing to say. And what has that done to us? How are we living? And when are we going to live better? We're going to take a short break, come back. We'll be talking to, of course, returning UNC candidate for Chaguanas East, the young and vibrant Van Dana Moet. We'll be right back.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health. It's Omega Excel.
If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you.
Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees where I could add more pressure.
This season, whatever job needs to be done for your home or business, you can rely on Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable, and innovative products. Available at ProVar Distributors Limited. We carry a wide range of Husqvarna equipment, power cutters, diamond saw blades, handheld blowers, trimmers and brush cutters, chainsaws, backpack blowers, water pumps, lawnmowers, lubricants, and all accessories. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact ProVar Distributors Limited at 233-9438 to find a dealer near you.
This Christmas, take advantage of all the top quality hardware supplies at the lowest prices only at Midland Hardware, number 97 Eastern Main Road, Arouca. Supreme Emulsion Paint, only $70.50. Water tanks from $841. Thin set from $48. Single kitchen faucets from $71. Face basin taps from $31. Pitch pine doors, all sizes, $465. Plain flush doors, all sizes, $245. Entrance locks and deadbolts, $50 and up. Savings on toilet sets, face basins, and all concrete blocks. We also stockpile sand and gravel. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or give us a call at 646-2144. Open Sunday to Sunday from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
Thank you so much, Master Control. Thank you so much indeed. We are back and we are going to be speaking to returning UNC candidate for Chaguanas East, Miss Vandana Mohit. Pleasant good evening and welcome. She's no stranger to the program. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening to you, Mikey. And of course, you said I'm no stranger to this program. Thank you once again for having me.
Always a pleasure. And first of all, let me congratulate you on once again being chosen to represent the good people of Chaguanas East. And as you said it in such a humbling manner, it is always about service to the people. What does it mean to you at this point in time? I mean, many people looking on. I know the PNM is doing a lot of work in Chaguanas East, but you have stuck to the core issues, the core problems of Chaguanas East. And I mean, you're even talking out and addressing the issue of extortion and what have you. What does it mean to you, and what, laying it out, of course, all that is coming at you, are you prepared?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm eternally grateful to be selected once again to represent the constituency of Chaguanas East. It is my pleasure. As you know, I live in the constituency of Chaguanas East, so I represent here with a lot of passion. Now, you have mentioned that you know the PNM is doing a lot of work in Chaguanas East. I just want to remind you that I have done a lot of work in Chaguanas East, and I am also doing a lot of work in the constituency of Chaguanas East. It means a lot to me, Mikey. You would know that I have worked in Chaguanas East all my life. And, you know, I have a connection with my people, not the people, my people. And we basically work together in every way possible and everything to ensure that our communities are served at its best. Now, I am speaking out on matters affecting my constituency. This has always been the case. This will continue to be the situation here, because as soon as something happens in Chaguanas East, my people do not hesitate to inform me and to ask for my intervention. And I have to represent them in the best way possible, because representing my people of Chaguanas East is not just fixing their issues, it's fixing an issue for me as well, because of course I live here. And it has always been my goal to live, work, and grow in the constituency of Chaguanas East and in the borough of Chaguanas. And I think I'm doing that fine thus far. But with a little more resources, I'll be able to do much more. Hence the reason why I, filed my nomination papers, screened again, and once again I'm the candidate, because I want that opportunity to be in government with the UNC to ensure that we can serve the people and continue to be a people-centered party.
Yeah. When you interact with the people, of course, is there a level of understanding that, listen, Ms. Mohit, we know that if you had the resources, you would do more, you would implement this, you would put this in place? Because many times, especially on the campaign trail, there are people who will seem to forget about the sacrifices that you have made for them and stood in the gap for them, and just run off wherever the little political pixie dust is and say, you know what, this new shiny thing is good. But when you interact, do they have that understanding that once you are there and the UNC is in government, you can do so much more and willing to do so much more?
Well, I am proud to say that I know the people of Chaguanas East, and I'm proud to also say that Chaguanas East residents are very much so involved in their representation. They are aware of what their councillors are to do. They are aware of what their MP is supposed to do. And one thing about the constituents of Chaguanas East, I can say to you, is that they are very appreciative of the fact that they receive information. Now, if you just leave people without information and they are unaware of your sacrifices, they are unaware of your attempts, then you are leaving them in the dark. But despite the fact of me being in opposition for the last 4 years, one thing I have not hesitated to do is share that of information with my constituents and to inform them that, yes, I am trying. But one of the greatest things, and I can share this with you, I have had the opportunity of doing in the constituency of Chaguanas East is getting that of results for my constituents. And people are appreciative of that. So I don't think they will forget, because they are involved in their representation. They have expressed appreciation to me for at least sharing information, making them aware, making them, understand processes and so on. And they are pleased with that. But of course, you have to ensure that you get resources. And I want to thank the business community for continuously assisting me when the government agencies would have failed to do so. They have bailed me out of many challenges in this constituency of Shogunas East. And at every forum where I have an opportunity, I will thank the business community of Shogunas East. My opponent is actually a former member of the business community in the borough of Shogunas, not Shogunas East. But so he's friends with quite a few business people, yes. But the fact of the matter remains that I am well connected with the business community, and the business community support me despite what. So we have that rapport, we have that relationship of working together. Not just the business community. Additionally, I want to mention to you that all NGOs, all religious leaders, I'm proud to say that we work hand in hand to not just relieve people of issues, but to put in place programs in the constituency of Shogunas East to ensure that we reach the right people who are in need of assistance, who are in need of transformation, who are in need of empowerment. And we are working hand in hand to work with those people individually. So I am so happy to report to you today that, I have been working with everyone in the constituency of Shogunas East. Not just doing a walkabout, touching house to house, but all organizations. And, they have that rapport with me. And this is why I believe that, now is not the time to end the representation. Now is the time to continue the representation, because these people look forward to much more. And I believe if I stay there on an already built relationship, we can continue this and do much more for the community, in the community that we live in.
Well said. And let me ask you, when you look at all that is taking place, what is going to be that message, or what do you believe that message should be, not just for Shogunas East, but for all of Trinidad and Tobago, getting ready and preparing it for the next general election?
Of course, the message going into this general election is for people to vote on what is affecting them. This entire country is feeling the brunt of the failures of this government, the incompetence of this government, and it is touching the poor and vulnerable the most. Our middle class, our upper class, everyone in this country is feeling it. And people must understand that crime is affecting them. Bad roads affecting them. Food prices are affecting them. Fuel prices are affecting them. So I do not want people to forget what's affecting them. And that's the message in this next general election, which we are basically in already. So remember what's affecting you. Do not vote based on, party politics. Vote based on who have the best policies. And in my humble view, in terms of manifesto, in terms of what we are going to do, the UNC is doing this the best right now, putting forward to the citizens of this country what we are going to do to improve their lives. For time and time again, we have sat in this country and we have not seen, proper plans presented by the PNM, but yet still they win an election. And this time around, we can't afford for that to happen. So we must be very clear to let citizens know that you cannot take another 5 years of what is happening in your country and to your children, to your families, to your friends, everywhere, to your workplaces. You cannot take another 5 years of that.
So true. And finally, I want to say if this question, two-part question. Who is Vandana Mohit, and how does one get involved in her campaign?
Vandana Mohit is a community-oriented individual, a family-oriented individual, a kind, humble individual, welcoming individual, and ready to serve. Well, not ready to serve, ready to continue to serve. And how you can get involved in my campaign, just hit me up, 467-5486. A phone call or WhatsApp. I have a very big team in the constituency of Shaguanas. Each community is involved, and in terms of my campaign, lots of people are calling me. They are so happy to see that I was selected to represent them once again. So persons can feel free to reach out to me and get involved in my campaign. We start to work very soon. We are already in the communities. We have been doing walkabouts, but now is the time for me to put on my UNC branded t-shirt and head out there with my troops. So call me, message me, and come on board. That's all I can say to you. We have a family here in Shaguanas, so once you enter, respect, love, care, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mohit. Please go brave and go with victory.
Yes, thank you so much, Mike.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Hey folks, don't forget Probiotic XL combines 3 innovative strategies to restore balance to your digestive system. And Probiotic XL contains 11 important probiotic strains, protective shield technology, and clearphage that altogether make it one of the best probiotics on the market. Probiotic XL promotes digestive health and immunity by supporting growth of good bacteria and neutralizing harmful ones. We're going to take some calls, going to squeeze it in. If you need to, via WhatsApp, 494-0938. And if you want to call direct, I believe, Master Control, it's 225-9790. 225-9790. What do you want to say? I mean, my thing is I am still caught up in this whole fact of all of this money. I mean, governments come, governments go. And I mean, how you perform, basically, is how we, the people, are going to act when we go to the polls. But in all of that, when have you ever heard of so much money and so many deals and so much allegations? And it's not small money. I mean, you're talking about people who are just simply guided and motivated by greed. In their mind and perhaps in their part of the world where they exist, there's no God, there's no, greater being, there's nothing to be humbled to. And if they had to be humble, perhaps it would be to more money and more resources and more assets. And that in itself is scary. Where have we been for the last 9+ years? Have we been able to live the life that we wanted, or have we been basically at the mercy of the ruthless elite in this country? And who has created such an environment to assist them in creating such an environment where they believe that everything belongs to them? It's their God-given right to have everything. 225-9790, and of course you can hit up via WhatsApp 494-0938 and share with us, of course. I know many of you would want to weigh in on that. Vandana Mohit has been selected. She's a returning UNC candidate for Shaguanas East. And if you need to reach her, be part of her campaign, whichever way that you can assist. As she said, it's one family. Get in there with respect, love, and peace. 467-5486. That number again, 467-5486. You can hit her up. We'll take a short break. When we come right back, we're going to take your calls right here quickly before we close things off. We'll be right back. Master Control.
This Christmas, take advantage of all the top quality hardware supplies at the lowest prices only at Midland Hardware, number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Supreme Emulsion Paint, only $70.50. Water tanks from $841. Thin set from $48. Single kitchen faucets from $71. Face basin taps from $31. Pitch pine doors, all sizes, $465. Plain flush doors, all sizes, $245. Entrance locks and deadbolts, $50 and up. Savings on toilet sets, face basins, and all concrete blocks. We also stockpile sand and gravel. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or give us a call at 646-2144. Open Sunday to Sunday from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
And we are back, and let me say a pleasant good evening. Someone's on the line. Hello?
Good night, Mikey. Good night to you and to everybody out here.
Good night.
Mikey, a tyrant will always find a pretext for his tyranny. I am sitting on here listening to Wade Mark, and I am convinced that Rowley is a tyrant. I don't know. Every Monday morning that we are hearing something untoward with this government. Last night we heard about the airport. Today we are hearing about assets, right? But we always known that from the beginning, right? They wanted to get their hands on Clico assets, and now we are hearing this tonight. Mikey, how much more people have to hear to get off the fence, for them to be convinced that this government needs to go.
Yeah, and not only that.
What will it take?
Not only that, when you hear all of these things, you ask yourself, then on what grounds is the PNM campaigning on?
But I've been asking that all the time. What are they coming to tell the people? No, I can tell you, because we saw an article in the Sunday Express where they asked him about the salary, but he went back to the desalination plant and Pande. And Lennox calling it every day, Mikey. You understand? I can still trying to make the connection. What does his salary have to do with Pande and the desalination plant? So we know, we get an idea what he's going to campaign on. More lies, more half-truths, more innuendos and propaganda. Well, he know he can't come with race again because the people waiting for him.
And the thing about
much going on.
And the thing about it, none of these things just happen overnight. I mean, we saw these signals, we saw these red flags. Can we afford to give another 5 years to have all of these signals as well, even be worse than the first time or the second?
Mikey, no, we can't. We can't, because only today I was talking to somebody in the Kwesi, and I am telling them, right, what he did not do us in this last 10 years, he's going to finish it in the next 5 years if he gets there. And that is a chance we cannot afford to take. And if people don't wise up Mikey and get him out, right, I don't know what again to say to them, because they are facing the groceries, they are facing the bombs, and yet still, the MPs and them have to go out there and tell them, vote for me. And before I leave Mikey, I want to say congratulations to Vandana. Yeah. She really has come a long, long way, and I wish her all the best. Mikey, good night, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, she has come a long way, and yes, again, it is indeed scary. It's very, very scary. I mean, it really makes you wonder. I mean, last week when Stephen Reese was here, I think he asked a very, very important question. I mean, what is it that, you're getting now that you're afraid that the UNC is going to come into government and take away from you? What are you afraid of losing when in fact that you have everything to gain? So we will look at this tomorrow as well. I think the message is starting to get out there really well. It's starting to come together, but it has to come where we all understand that we cannot afford another 5 years. And some people tell you, Mikey, not even another 5 minutes. You just can't afford it. That's the reality of it. Folks, until tomorrow, please be safe. And remember, we are observing, but action has started. Things are starting to unfold, and we are definitely going to have a lot to talk about. And tomorrow on the ground report, of course, don't miss it. A very, very big story. We're calling on the permanent secretary of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Something isn't adding up, and our money is jumping up outside as well. So lock on for that. Don't forget, 6 a.m., of course, on Real Media. Of course, at 8 o'clock to 10 a.m. right here on Gael. And we'll continue streaming. Until tomorrow evening, be safe.